We had a community manager who I think retired around 2022, and that's when our new community manager came in. And there have been a lot of years with a lot of problems, some little, some big. And this assistant community manager, John, has basically lived through all of them, and in my opinion, maybe avoiding or evading responsibility and accountability, because he seems to always just be right under the radar of what's going on. And I have a lot of concerns because, as I mentioned in other videos about the board meeting, he tends to wield a lot of power and control over members during members' time and during committees. When he is operating as the host, he can disable the chat and disable emojis and basically limit members' abilities to speak. So one frequent thing you will hear at the board meetings is somebody will be called on to speak, and if they're on Zoom, he's controlling the Zoom room, and the board will be waiting for them to talk, and then the person will say, I couldn't unmute. He tends to mute people while they're speaking, or to cut them off and not allow them to rebut a response from the board of directors or the manager, the community manager, who are generally in the meeting in person. So over time, I have realized that this is his tactic of control, and I leave my house. If I start talking on Zoom, I leave my house and I drive down there because it pisses me off, basically, that he wants to mute me. And I feel like he is trying to play games and wield this authority that he has to censor people and stop them from talking. So that's one concern that I have. But another reason that I'm talking about him today is because of his comment at the board meeting when he said, because that is a stupid question. So the context of that was I had asked whether public safety had ever had an occasion where they did not report a crime, maybe a crime of sexual assault, rape, or domestic violence that was criminal in nature to the proper law enforcement agencies. So the community manager didn't respond and didn't deny that that has had happened, and neither did the board directors. They all sat there and nobody could deny that that was part of the investigation. So I motioned to the audience and I said, look, they're not denying that. So be aware that what they don't say is just as important as the things that they do say. And I said, it kind of went on, and I said, why can't you, tell us what this is about? And I said, why can't you answer these questions? And that's when the assistant community manager, John, unmuted and said, because that's a stupid question. And what that showed to me is his true character. And like I mentioned in another video, he attempted to apologize like 20, 30 minutes later. And that to me is unacceptable, because just because you apologize doesn't mean that you didn't show your true character through your words. And that is the type of disrespect that I have been talking about, that I've seen him treat other members, like the woman who brought up the lighting issue. I've seen him be very disrespectful of her, censor her, mute her, also condescend to her. A lot of times I've seen him to men too, just kind of say like, okay, okay, sure, like kind of that placating, but in a sarcastic kind of way. And I find that to be very disrespectful, especially as somebody who we pay for. So we pay dues. The dues pay for the services and the staff. So they work for us. And I want to know your thoughts on his behavior, if you've ever seen it. But the more that members watch at members' time at 11 o'clock at the monthly board meeting, the more that I hear members say, what I saw at this meeting was totally inappropriate and disrespectful, and members shouldn't be treated like this. So, my call on you is to watch what's going on and to also ask yourself, why is this assistant community manager still on staff when he has overseen more investigations about issues going on with the employees than our community manager who's been on payroll since 2022? How come he's survived all of these investigations? He's just always under the radar. And like I said, has this low level contempt, in my opinion, for the membership. And in that brief moment when he unmuted and said, "That's a stupid question," that shows you how he really feels about the members, okay? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. You know that saying? So, what do you think of the assistant community manager? Because I've also heard, and I don't know, I can't verify this, but people have talked about how they gave themselves raises a couple of years ago and he got like a $40,000 raise. I don't know about you, but my raises are like 3%, barely. When I was a civil servant in a county in New York, we didn't get raises some years. Some years we got 0%. You know, we were lucky if we got like 1.5% some years. So, how does somebody here get a $40,000 raise? Now, it was my understanding that the board said that he was brought up to the level of what other assistant community managers make in other communities, but I don't know if that's the case. So, if you're aware of any of this, please put it in the comments so that you can help me understand it better. But I'm very concerned about his treatment of people and how he is evading accountability by being in that assistant community manager role. He doesn't have to take the heat that the community manager does. So, is our money doing the best that it can for us? I wonder if we need a new assistant community manager and a new community manager. I'm wondering if that's what we need to invest in to become a better community. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you.